Hi there, Trey. I'll be zooming in on the guitar today. Okay, so thanks so much for your video where you followed up my little subtle request there for you to just jam away. That's exactly what I wanted to see. And I've been trying to figure out a way we can get started with this. Here's what I came up with. I think there are two main areas which would be cool to kind of dive into a little bit. Now, I won't be giving you some exact stuff to do, and the reason is I'd like to first, for us to kind of gauge, how intensive you want to make this, how much you want to practice, stuff like that. But I would like to dive into kind of vibrato and bending, and also some like pentatonic licks and faster playing. So the first thing I'd like to see from you is this kind of vibrato where you gradually build up. So I'm in the position of A minor pentatonic 5th fret now. So I'd like to see you do something like this, where you hit the note. You can do a bit of a raking thing there, which makes it sound more aggressive. You let me know if you need a further explanation of this, but basically you're gonna dampen the notes, right? Especially with your right hand, and kind of sweep until you reach that note. I'm just gonna assume you know this, but if you don't, just give me a shout and I'll dive into it next time. Anyhow, so here we have that 7th fret on the G string. Then I want you to kind of let the listener rest on that note a little bit. And then I want you to go into that fairly quick Zakk Wylde-ish bend where you bend at least the whole step or more. And I find it, or most people find it, whenever you can bend downwards, that's the best thing to do. Although it's obviously harder or impossible on the E and the B string. So that's my first task. You can do that for now from using any finger, whichever finger is easier. In the long run, you want to be able to do this from any finger, obviously, which is hard, but it's kind of necessary if you want some freedom to, be able to play whatever you want. So, vibrato is like anything, it needs to be practiced. So you could include this, again, depending on how your routine is going to look. I mean, we don't even know, maybe you want to spend 5 minutes per day, 5 minutes per week, 1 hour per day, 1 hour per week. We don't know how much you're going to play this. But if you have a routine, then I think you can just maybe, if you want to include it in your warm-up. And as always, bending is kind of the birthplace for cool vibrato. So if you're practicing, you want to do it slowly, at least in the beginning. Make it like a sort of a bend that goes up and down. And then as you get more comfortable, you can choose whether you want to be bending quickly or doing vibrato or slower vibrato. Okay, that's number one. Give that a little shot and see, if you can make things happen. And you can, of course, throw on that artificial harmonic. Again, we can dive into that more specifically if you're having issues with that. Just give me a shout. And the second thing would be, I would say, like a faster pentatonic build up towards this kind of bending exercise. So the idea is you would practice these two things separately, but they also work very well together if you want to go for that aggressive kind of Zakk Wylde-ish style. So what I want you to do is to play a pentatonic pattern that involves an even amount of notes. And I'm going to give you an example here, but it could really be anything. So for example, 7, 5, 7, 5. Kind of simple, right? We do 7, 5 on the G string, 7, 5 on the D string. So now, depending on how serious you want to get about this, you can either practice picking, which again, I would do that where you, kind of picking where you start with your pick parallel to the string, and then you tilt downwards, or you angle downwards, and you can tilt the pick a little bit like this as well, make it easier. So, and try to have a really small movement there. Now, if that is difficult to play at a, try to build some tempo with it, then what you can do is play the double amount of notes on the first string. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are all variations. I'm not saying you should do any one of these. I'm just giving you some options there. And another option I'd like to give you is to not actually pick this if that feels like a unsurpassable mountain or whatever the expression is. Then what you can do obviously is pick one note and pull off. So you do pick, pull off, pull off, pull off. It also works really nice and it can sound really aggressive as well. So both sound really cool. So it's up to you how you want to do it. And as you might have seen there, I just threw in like a variation there where I did both the first version I showed you, which was just like that, and I combined that with the second version, which was. So if I combine that slowly, I get 7, 5, 7, 5, and then 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5. Okay, that's pretty much it. And if you want to throw things around and play in reverse, maybe you want to go in the other direction. Again, that's totally fine. I don't think there's any purpose of me giving you exact things to do, because if you want to do that, you just find your lesson and you play it exactly that way. I think kind of the strength with this kind of mentoring is that I can give you a bit more of a background explanation as to what my thinking is, and you can apply these strategies in your own practicing. So it doesn't matter if you play it descending or ascending. The point here is we're playing pentatonics and an even amount of notes per string, and we're going to combine it, at least in the long run, with some cool bending. So that's kind of the purpose. So if you want to do the other way around, that's fine as well. So, and you can combine them. Whatever. So, but obviously, I'm not expecting you to kind of shred away there. As always, a good idea to start with a metronome. Make sure you minimize both your hand movements. I've seen you do a little bit too much of these, where you really move your fingers far away from the fretboard. That kind of thing needs to be addressed at a really slow tempo. So use this opportunity if you're starting out with a metronome and you're going to be practicing this. If you find yourself doing, I'm exaggerating now, but then when you're practicing slowly is a good opportunity to try to minimize your left hand movements as well. That's kind of important. And as always, be relaxed in both hands. That's super important. That's how you build speed. Okay, so I'm throwing this ball at you now. I'm not in any way, shape, or form expecting you to, come up with something amazing here. It's just a first step, and hopefully you'll be able to practice this a bit and return to me, and that's when it starts to get interesting, when we get into this feedback loop, and I can kind of give you some feedback on what I think you did well and what I think you need to improve, like that finger thing. It's just an example. Cool, and I would say like a minimum, 1 week where you've spent some time with this, I think is interesting. We need to, you need to give it a little bit of regular time before we can really see, how it works out for you. That's all. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. Cheers.